In the spring of 2020, in a quiet corner of San Diego, one of the most famous cartel killers of his generation was almost free. He had served his American sentence. He was months from walking away clean. New life, supervised release, out of the game. All he had to do was stay put. Instead, in early May, he vanished from federal home confinement. Days later, on a dirt road east of Culiacan, Mexican police found an abandoned vehicle. Inside were 3 bodies, showing signs of torture. A man, his sister, and her husband.
Tras 2 días de especulación, hoy la Fiscalía General de Sinaloa confirmó que los restos encobijados y hallados a bordo de una camioneta el sábado en Ayune.
The man was Jose Rodrigo Arechiga Gamboa, El Chino Ántrax, the most photographed, most sung about, most famous gunman the Sinaloa cartel ever produced. Everyone knows who he was. 6 years on, nobody has proven who killed him.
A un celular que dejó amarrado a un juguete de baterías que se movía para engañar a las autoridades, lo que le dio unas horas de ventaja para huir vía Tijuana.
But here's what makes this murder different from every other cartel killing.
San Diego, California, hoy se confirmó que los restos encontrados el sábado en Ayune, Sinaloa, sí pertenecen a José Rodrigo Arechiga, el Chino Ántrax, uno de los principales lugartenientes del Cartel de Sinaloa.
In 2020, the list of suspects meant nothing. Today, that same list reads like a prophecy, because the 2 names on it went to war with each other. And that war is still burning. This is a murder mystery where the answer was hiding in the future. To understand why his death mattered, you need to understand what he was and what rule he broke. Chino Ántrax wasn't just a hitman. He was the co-founder of Los Ántrax, the elite armed wing that protected the Sinaloa cartel's most valuable asset, Ismael El Mayo Zambada and his sons.
El Mayo was the world's single biggest drug trafficker this century. Over 3 decades, El Mayo and El Chapo built the Sinaloa cartel into the largest drug trafficking organization that the world has ever seen.
When the cartel went to war with the Beltran Leyvas, Los Ántrax did the fighting. Skull insignia, military weapons, and a direct line to the old man himself. That made him royalty in the cartel's armed aristocracy. And Los Ántrax was born in a war worth remembering here, because it was also a family war. In 2008, the Beltran Leyva brothers, the cartel's own partners for decades, split from Sinaloa after one of them was arrested and the rest blamed El Chapo for it. The cartel spent years killing its former allies in its own cities. Los Ántrax was the instrument of that war, which means Chino Ántrax's entire career was built on a lesson he apparently never applied to himself. In Sinaloa, the most dangerous people are always the ones inside the organization. What made him famous was everything else. Because Chino Ántrax was one of the first narcos of the Instagram age. Gold-plated pistols, exotic cars, designer everything, private jets, celebrity parties. Posted publicly while he was one of the most wanted enforcers in Mexico. Musicians wrote corridos about him that have tens of millions of plays. He wasn't hiding from fame, he was farming it, and he wasn't alone. He was the face of a whole generation Culiacan called the Buchones, narco juniors who inverted the old logic entirely. Their father's generation bought silence. This one bought followers. The corridos weren't just songs. They were advertising, recruitment, and reputation, all compounding in public. Chino Ántrax was the proof of concept. And think about who he worked for. El Mayo Zambada.
He joins fellow cartel leader Joaquim El Chapo Guzman in serving a life sentence following El Chapo's conviction here in Brooklyn in 2019.
A man who went 50 years without a verified photograph, whose entire empire was built on one principle: invisibility. His boss's rule was silence. Chino Ántrax lived at maximum volume. In this world, that contradiction isn't a personality quirk. It's a countdown. The countdown ran out on December 30th, 2013. Not in Sinaloa, but at Schiphol Airport in Amsterdam. Chino Ántrax flew into Europe under a false name, reportedly to celebrate the holidays the way he posted. 5-star, high visibility. The DEA knew he was coming. Dutch police were waiting at the gate. Within months, he was extradited to the United States and standing in a federal courtroom in San Diego. And then, something strange happened. The highest-profile Sinaloa enforcer in American custody, a man tied to an armed wing responsible for years of cartel warfare, quietly pleaded guilty. And when the sentence came down, it was short. Startlingly short for a man of his rank. Prosecutors never announced a cooperation deal. They didn't have to. In Sinaloa, everyone did the math.
No corner of this organization beyond our reach. No level of leadership off limits. If you lead, enable, or profit from Sinaloa cartel operations, we're coming for you.
A short sentence, a sealed file, and a quiet exit towards supervised release. To the people he used to work for, that arithmetic only ever adds up to one word: snitch. Whether it was true almost didn't matter. In the economy he came from, the suspicion is the sentence. By early 2020, he was in home confinement in San Diego, nearly done. Free, alive, and out. The ending almost no one in his line of work gets. Then he opened the door and walked away from it. Early May 2020. Remember what the world looked like that month. Pandemic lockdowns, closed borders, empty airports, every government on earth looking at anything but the drug war. If you wanted to move without being noticed, there was never a better moment. Chino Ántrax stops reporting to his federal supervision. The U.S. Marshals list him as missing. Why does a man months from freedom run? There are only theories. That he believed he could go home again. That he was summoned and understood what refusing a summons means. That he was lured with a promise of reconciliation. Every version ends the same way. On May 16th, the vehicle on the dirt road. Chino Ántrax, his sister Ada Jimena, and her husband, abducted, tortured, shot. Now look at the location, because the location is the evidence. He wasn't killed crossing a border or hiding in a safe house. He died east of Culiacan, the absolute center of Sinaloa cartel power, a city where nothing that loud happens without permission from the top of the organization. Incite crime, the people who study this for a living, said it plainly at the time. An execution this high profile, this deep inside the stronghold, points to an intra-cartel order from the leadership itself. The question was never whether the cartel killed him. The question is which cartel, because in hindsight, there were already two. Theory 1, El Mayo. Chino Ántrax was Mayo's own man, the guard dog of his faction, and the old man's code was absolute. No attention, no betrayal. Chino had delivered years of headlines, and as far as Sinaloa was concerned, cooperated with the Americans. In this theory, the murder is discipline. The quiet man erasing the loud one, punishing the snitch so publicly that no one in the organization would ever mistake silence for softness. Theory 2. The Chapitos. The sons of El Chapo were rising, restless, and building their own power inside the cartel. Chino Ántrax was one of the most capable guns the old guard had, and he came home exposed, disgraced, unprotected. In this theory, the murder is a move, removing El Mayo's best soldier while the cost was low, and testing exactly how much the old man would tolerate. For 4 years, those two theories just sat there, unresolved. A closed case in a country of closed cases. Then September 2024 happened. El Mayo was betrayed, kidnapped by El Chapo's son and delivered to American agents. And the Sinaloa cartel tore itself in half. La Mayiza against Los Chapitos. Culiacan became a war zone. Thousands dead or disappeared since. Now reread the murder of Chino Ántrax with that ending in mind. If Mayo ordered it, then the old guard was already purging anyone whose loyalty had a crack in it. Because it sensed what was coming. If the Chapitos ordered it, then they were already dismantling Mayo's protection 4 years before they came for the man himself. And that's how cartel wars actually begin. Not with declarations, with single deniable murders that each side can pretend not to understand. By the time Joaquin Guzman stood in a Chicago courtroom and admitted under oath to kidnapping El Mayo,
Ismael El Mayo Zambada's lawyer releasing a 2-page letter Saturday detailing the circumstances of his arrest, alleging he was kidnapped.
the glass removed from the window, the hood, the plane, the maneuvering had been going on for years. The kidnapping wasn't the first move, it was just the first one performed in daylight. Either way, the meaning is the same. The war didn't start in 2024. In 2024, it just became visible. The first crack ran through an abandoned vehicle on a dirt road in May of 2020. The corridos never stopped. New songs still name him. A new generation streams him. The myth gets bigger while the file stays closed. But the real story of Chino Ántrax was never the gold guns or the parties. It's that his murder was a message nobody could read yet, sent 4 years before the address existed. Somebody knew the Sinaloa cartel was already 2 cartels. They knew it in 2020. The rest of the world found out in 2024. Whoever they were, they're still out there, and their war is still going.